Hi everybody, my name is Mark Batchelor. I'm Director of Property Services and welcome to our second podcast. Today I'm talking to Lloyd, and I struggled with how to introduce Lloyd actually. I think he might be quite surprised with what I settled on, to be fair. Lloyd is someone I've known for around about 5-6 years, worked in and out of my team for that time. He's a young manager, and I put he is deep souled in there. And I don't know if we'll get through that through the conversation, but someone who is either got a really big smile on his face, or you can tell when things aren't going his way. He's quite a deep thinker, I think. So I'm looking forward to this. Lloyd, why don't you just try and introduce yourself?
I'm looking forward to it too, yes. So, I'm Lloyd. I've been at Hyde for 7 years now, and I work in our complaints team. I'm our quality improvement officer, and I've spent a lot of my time under the leadership of Mark, so I've learned from the best.
Oh, what a creep, but thank you for that. So, complaints team, tell us what that looks like on a day-to-day basis.
So when you hear the word complaints, you might think it's all doom and gloom, but it's not at all. We're quite a lively bunch, and I think it's really important that we get the right characters in our team to survive, to have that resistance and the resilience to the challenges that you can have within that team. So it's not all doom and gloom. It's not getting moaned at every day. And if anything, it's problem solving would be probably the most effective way to describe it. Sort of project management, problem solving, thinking about what can we do to listen to that customer's needs, understand what they need, and deliver on solutions that are appropriate for the customer, but also for Hyde.
And that's a great answer. You know, me talking to you. What about in terms of the impact that some of these calls have on you personally?
Yeah, it can be challenging. It can be energy draining at times, and you have to just be resilient. I think what you need to try and do is something that you're quite good at in terms of sometimes taking the emotion out of your train of thought and thinking quite logically. So where are we at right now? Where do we need to get to, and how do we get there? And having that conversation with the customer sometimes. What we often find is that when we're the first person to really truly listen to that customer, they can sort of unravel all their stories and challenges on us, so that we kind of get the full picture of maybe their whole experience at Hyde, not just this particular issue they're complaining about. So you have to be quite emotionally intelligent to sort of empathise with them, but then, as I say, think quite logically to sort of manage your expectations, to focus on where we're at right now and then where do we need to get to, and then look at basically solutions.
So some tough days in there.
For sure, but I think we all support each other really well to make sure that we can cope. And that's not just within our team, it's across the organisation. Everyone understands what we need to do. I think our challenge is that we need to sort of emphasise to the customer that we are on their side, and demonstrate that to them, but also be impartial in the sense of we can't just take everything that they've said and point the finger at people internally. At the same time, when people internally have their opinions on a situation, we need to sort of think in terms of policy and what's right and wrong in terms of decision making, so that we can arrive at a solution that is appropriate for both Hyde and the customer.
Great, good stuff. You did a fantastic thing just recently, which we're going to talk about a little bit. But as part of that, I followed you on Instagram as well. And I stalked you a little bit this morning.
Yeah.
And I'd say there's 3 important things in your life. Your family, football, and then this very important thing that you just did. You've talked to me about football and injuries and stuff like that. And I know it's pretty heartbreaking for you. Tell me a little bit about that and how that affects you.
Yeah, so football means the world to me, and I know some people say, oh, it's just a game, but it means everything to me. It's not just playing football, it's the social element of it, so being with your friends and the camaraderie you have with those people, and the social element of it as well. But I've also been a big believer my entire life, really, that exercise is one of the best therapies you can have, and football is my therapy, in a sense that for that hour, 2 hours, whatever it is that you're playing football, the only thing you think about is that little round ball. You don't think about anything else going on in your life, and it just gives you that release. And as someone that kind of likes competition and competitiveness and winning, it kind of feeds into that as well, in a sense that it gives you that that sort of intensity that other things probably don't replicate. So yeah, football means everything to me, and I love spending time with my friends, so it gives me the opportunity to do that as well.
What about the more devastating side, your couple of injuries?
Yes.
Or one recurring injury, I guess.
Yeah, so until I was 26, I was fit as a fiddle. And you look back at when you were younger and you think, oh, I used to get battered all the time, but you just get up the next day and get on with it. And then, incidentally, it sort of coincides with my time at Hyde. So 2018, I've joined Hyde, and that's the start of this football season that I've gone into. Gone 6 games unbeaten, playing really well. And then disaster struck. I ruptured my left ACL and tore my left meniscus. It then meant that I had to have surgery the following year. I remember the day that I got told the news that I was going to miss about 2 years of football, and I cried all the way home. And I never cry, so I knew it hurt me. So I had surgery the following year, and then it takes about 12 to 18 months to recover. I then completed a full recovery. It was the year that COVID happened, so things weren't normal. And then second game back, I broke my left foot, which was not ideal. It potentially gave my knee a bit more time to recover, I guess, but that was a setback. And then all of 2021 I was fully fit and felt great. And then start of 2022 ruptured my right ACL and tore my right meniscus in, so my right knee. The NHS waiting list was too long, so with the lovely support of my parents, forked out 10 grand to pay for surgery. But since that, my left knee's been fine, but my right knee, just a recurring issue. And yeah, it's been a challenge. Because it means so much to me to play, and I feel like I've been cheated of years of enjoyment, really, from not being able to play. And I've had to put in a lot of hard work, and I think when it comes to injuries, a lot of people think about the physical impact that has on you and the hard work you have to put in physically, but I would say by far emotionally it's a much more tougher battle. You miss out on everything, you're not part of certain groups because you're not in the team. You don't feel like that sense of belonging, and you feel weak and you lose confidence in your body. And I'd say that's the biggest issue I've had the last couple of years, is that previous trauma. I've lost all confidence in my body, really, in terms of its performance. So I'm putting in a lot of hard work with physio at the moment to try and regain that, but it's a daily battle, really.
And I've seen you go through some emotional roller coaster, and you lose your outlet to the stress of working life and those sorts of things. You said very generously, Mum and Dad paid. I know you've talked.
I did your finish.
I know you've talked a little bit to me about your mum and dad and why they drive you. Can you share some of that stuff?
Yes, I'm incredibly fortunate to have the parents that I have. I've had, I can't say I've had any traumas in my life apart from my knee issues. They've given me an amazing life, support always. I'd say my mum and dad and my sister, the 3 people that I can just rely on 100%. I know that every act, every word that they do is with pure intentions for me, and has always got my best interests at heart. So those 3 people mean the world to me. And I've always just wanted to repay them for everything they've done for me, think about the sacrifices they've made, and make them proud. And I'd say I know we're going to go on to it in terms of my recent experience, but I'd say that's one thing that I've sort of realised, is that I've been chasing all these years for like accolades, achievements, trophies, whatever you want to call it. But actually the thing that will make them the proudest is the person that I am, and I think I've started to realise that. It's probably taken me longer than I'd liked in my life to realise things, so it probably took me a long time to realise the importance and value of family. I've got that now, and now I'm starting to realise sort of my worth, I'd say, a little bit more, which is nice. It's a nice feeling.
And you said something to me yesterday, which is just a really nice phrase, which was, if your peace costs you too much, it's not worth it.
Yeah, so basically what I try and live by, there's a few things I try and live by, but one thing is, if it costs you a peace, it's too expensive, and you can probably put time into that as well, because time is the most expensive thing you can spend, because there's no return on that at any point. And even with silly little things like I had a car crash last year, and I had something come through recently to say that they found it to be a 50-50 split, which is farcical. But it's going to cost me my peace trying to challenge that. and money comes and goes, so I would just take the hit on that and move on because it's not worth it. So I try and live by that really, in terms of if it's costing you a piece, it's too expensive.
Nice phrase. Thanks, Lloyd. Let's talk about the big trip to Tanzania then. So, an amazing thing that you've just gone and done.
Yeah.
Why did you want to do it?
So I've been, again, going back to like my parents and sort of my life, I've always felt really fortunate, and I've always felt that I wanted to give back to the world, because fortunately for me, I'm in a position where I can probably do that. I've always considered myself to have a good heart, and I think you need people like that to help make a difference. And in terms of my experience with Tanzania and Hope and Soul itself, so I've got a really good friend called Amy, and her best friend is the girl called Hope who runs the charity. And we've talked about it for years, about me going out there, but incidentally the period of time that's kind of been an agenda item would be when I've had these issues with my knees, so I haven't really had the capability to go out there due to recoveries and things, and so it's never really, our paths haven't aligned, but this year it did. And sort of at the start of the year I said to myself I wanted to make sure that I didn't end the year in the same position that I started it in, and that doesn't mean with changing everything, but it just meant not feeling the way I feel about things at the moment to in the future, but also anything that, like you say, is costing me my peace, maybe changing that so that I'm more fulfilled with my life. And so this opportunity came about. I've been an ambassador for Hope and Soul for 3 years anyway, so I've been doing a lot of work in the UK for them, but nothing in terms of hands-on. I was invited to go out there in March, and had the time of my life. It was the best thing I've ever done.
What was the best thing though about Tanzania?
The best thing, it's really hard because I can't actually put it into one. I'd say there's 3 or 4 really. So firstly, beautiful place with beautiful people. They've all got the biggest hearts, and you can tell that everyone's just like a genuine person. I would say that the children were amazing in terms of some of these people, these kids, they've got nothing, but they've got the biggest smiles you'll ever see, and they make the best out of the littlest things. So that was lovely to see. I did a safari while I was out there as well. It was like a little break, which was amazing, but that doesn't really count in terms of the volunteering. I've got to mention Hope and the girl that runs it herself, because out of all the people I've met in my life, she's probably the one person that's completely blown me away. Remarkable human being. The things she does, amazing, truly amazing. And then I would say, in terms of one specific event that took place while we were out there, was that we went to visit a family to interview her with her children to see if they would qualify for the daycare centre. And when we arrived at her home, which was simply a room the size of this, built in with mud, she had 5 boys, but 2 of them were living with her mother because she couldn't afford to look after them. Her husband had left her when she was pregnant with her 5th child because he said it was too expensive. So she had a 10-week-old baby on like a foam mattress on the floor, and then these 2 boys with her. She had a bag of porridge that was literally all the food supply she had, one little stove that she was boiling some water on just to make it safe to drink. No bed, no washing facilities or anything like that. And when she was initially speaking to us, she was happy and smiling like pretty much everyone in Tanzania is. But when we started to dig a bit deeper into her experiences, she started to cry. And at that point I was kind of like, I really want to do something for this lady. So before we left, I gave her a big squeeze. And then we all kind of agreed after that we needed to help her. So we reached out for a donation and we got one. So then literally 2 days later, we just told her to stay at home all day. We didn't tell her why. And then in the morning we went and bought a new bed, new mattress, a blanket, a mosquito net, loads of cooking equipment for sort of to use in terms of like boiling things, storage, that sort of stuff. And then we turned up, and new flooring, and then we turned up at her house and fitted it all. And after we'd done it all, a little boy said to her, "Mummy, does this mean we don't need to sleep on the floor anymore?" And it was the most impactful thing I think I've ever done in my life. It was an amazing feeling. Now it's quite nice thinking about just them being in their home, and now they've got a foundation to build from, and we've changed their lives.
So a very different well-being attitude from yourself, really. You're more about balance. Would that be right?
Yeah, I'd say Balance, yeah. I'd say I'm quite level-headed with most things. Not too emotional, not too logical, probably a bit in between.
And your way to get away from some of the more stressful events is to do something which gives you emotional growth.
For sure, yeah.
That's really cool. And I think I was probably right when I said deep-souled, Lloyd. I think.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I've always felt that I've got a good heart, and I always know that pretty much all my intentions are always pure, and I'm really genuine and honest. And I think anyone that gets to know me realises that. Sometimes my honesty isn't always appreciated, be it professionally or socially. But one thing you can't discount is that I am always honest and genuine. And I'd probably just say I need to maybe tailor my approach sometimes in terms of how I deliver that. But yeah, like you say, deep-souled, I think, for sure. And I think that's why I got on really well with Hope out in Tanzania, because she's definitely built the same.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing all that, Lloyd. And just amazing, a difference between some people will say exercise, meditation and stuff like that, and just your view on personal growth, going out there, doing special things with special people. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and one thing I would add to that as well is that I've never been to Africa before, and I'm trying to do more to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So that was an experience for me for sure that did that, because I didn't know what to expect out there at all. But you kind of just make the best of it, and yeah, it was amazing, and I'm so glad I did it. If anything, I wish I'd done it sooner, but yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that.